funny thing, we were trying to figure out, every podcast has this intro section
Yeah.
where they present the speaker, and we were trying to come up with the intro for you, and we were like stumped. We just cracked a joke like, okay, that person finished main quest and he's just doing side quests.
Yeah, I'm a bit like all over the place. Like I do quite a lot of things. I'm one of those. Um, like when they give you the advice to specialize heavily in something. Yeah, I never took that advice. I just like I like to kind of jump from one thing to the other, and I've tried to like find a specialization, but I think I just like very much enjoy the diversity of doing a bunch of different things that are related to audio. And so yeah, I never found a a point of focus. I quite like being quite an audio generalist in a way. So from doing sound design to writing music to working with game audio, it's sort of like I quite like the diversity. I don't get bored this way, and then yeah, like I feel like that all the different fields that I operate in then in a way influence each other, and I kind of like it this way. But yeah, I wouldn't give that as career advice to anybody. I think it's better if you do specialize in something.
So you think that was a one-off? Okay.
But yeah, like I was saying, like I do a lot of synth programming for other people and create a lot of custom instruments for other people, and that is something also that I've been doing since 2016 more or less. And in 2021 I also started my own company that is called Sonora Cinematic, where I started doing these basically creating commercial virtual instruments that people can buy from my web store. But before Sonora Cinematic, I did it for a very long time, as a business to business thing in a way. So like creating custom things for other composers. I've done that on quite a few projects that if you want we can talk about. And then the last thing that I do, the third compartment in a way is game audio and that kind of sound effects. And the game audio thing stemmed out from creating lots of sound effects. I collaborate a lot with Krotos, which is a Greek company which is based here in Edinburgh, though, and does a lot of things for sound designers, both for games and post, and sort of. Me doing game audio sort of stand out from that collaboration. So these three things, most people specialize in one. I sort of have a lot of interests when it comes to audio, and I was never able to quite, you know, point to a specific thing, and I quite enjoy the diversity of doing them all. Maybe one day there will be one that will be, taking over the others, but yeah, for now this is how it works. I would say that maybe, so game audio is what is at the specific moment is probably what I do the least of. So last year I was doing quite a lot of that, and now in 2024 I've been doing a lot more music and musical sound design. So it kind of depends. There is like one year when one thing take over the other two. But yeah, in general I sort of like keep doing all these things together. And yeah, it's been working out okay for me. But yeah, it comes to a cost of um, well, first of all, it's very tiring to sort of like switch your brain with your sound designer hat and then your composer hat and then your game audio act. But also it becomes complicated in terms of communicating to people what you do, because it's obviously all these things serve pretty different markets and appeal to very different potential customers. So that has been my challenge in recent years. How do I communicate that? Thankfully I still have like a decent network of clients that I work with. But yeah, that has been like the other side of the coin of doing so many different things in a way.
Why I'm asking about the whole self-identity thing because I've seen on Instagram you were teasing about this breakdown of yours for 2022, and then I found your
Oh
video
yeah.
on your YouTube channel, and you said that uh, number one thing, you spend approximately 20% of your time producing instruments,
Yeah.
whereas producing and composing music stood on second place. And the rest is admin, running business, Sonora Cinematic, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. What
So,
was the first one? I forgot. So the first one was producing virtual instruments.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
in 2022, of course. Since then, 2 years
Yeah.
passed.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
And is that the thing with being a freelancer or sole
Yeah.
proprietor business owner? People these days got to diversify their source of incomes, or is that what was that more of a well? There is a huge overlap in what I'm doing in composition and sound design. Not a huge sum overlap. I
Yeah.
might as well try and experiment in the field I'm not familiar with because again, it started with a guitar in a grunge band.
Yeah.
Is that a necessity to diversify fields of expertise
Yeah,
or
yeah. As I said, I don't. I mean, it's probably also a necessity, financially, meaning that that the doing being a composer or being a sound designer, like doing any of those things is very hard. So, I think that diversification is key. You do need to do quite a lot of things, but for me, doesn't necessarily comes from that. For me, it really comes from being very very interested in a lot of things, and one way I am very grateful that I'm into a lot of different things is that, like, if you're a composer, at least I experienced all the times that I was like just a composer, right? So when I was writing music all the time, you do hit a moment where um you get like a creative block, and then obviously you do have techniques that hopefully you learn with experience to get out of it, and like you just put one note in front of the other and you get something done. Uh, but 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 you're not always creative, and I find that while I think that all these three disciplines are very very creative, I do find that the creativity involved in these three different areas is sort of a different kind, and I think that switching between all those quite helps me, coming to then the other in a fresh way, and that's something that I really like, if it makes sense.
so there's a cross pollination, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. And also, like in terms of of my influences, a lot of the musicians that I admire, and that I started admiring sort of like more in my adulthood rather than, you know, again, like youth heroes, if you want, have a lot of this cross pollination, right? So they use a lot like sound um as a form of expression in their music. I'm a huge fan of Richard Devine, for example, that I don't know if you could consider him more of a sound designer or a musician. So like I do very much live in that world where the line between music and sound design sort of blurs, and I really really love that world. So I think that it just comes naturally out of a personal interest in sound, and in ways that it can be used non-traditionally to sort of tell a story, whether that is in the form of a piece of music, or whether that is in the form of a virtual instrument, or in the form of a asset for game audio. That is sort of what drives me into doing this, in doing this profession, in a way, if it makes sense.
you're one of those cases where this, let's be honest, massive diversification of fields of expertise actually worked. You seem to be happy doing all of that stuff. You wouldn't be doing probably virtual instruments that much if you really didn't enjoy the process. You know,
I mean, I get that as well. I mean, not don't get me wrong. I'm not happy all the time. Like, like as you saw from that video, one thing that I hate about these things is how much admin and business development and things like that go into doing this job. But that is the necessity of it. The diversification is something that is necessary in terms of making a living. Definitely, I think that people have a very confused idea of what it means being a professional musician. They think that there is nothing between the guy that has a day job and then on Sunday he plays in a pub, and Hans Zimmer. It's either one of those two things, and there can be Hans Zimmer or I don't know, Billie Eilish or whatever pop star you want, right? But the truth is that there is a world of middle class and musicians that are and audio artists that are in between, and where I definitely sit, right? And to do that, you just need to diversify. I mean, it just like the reality of it. I think that we all, in a way or another, find a way to diversify, and these were just the things that I happen to be passionate about, and uh, the things where I invested time in, essentially.
just leave some space um, for a happy accident to happen.
Absolutely.
Saying yes enough times to let it happen.
Yes, also bad accidents to happen, of course, but there is no such thing as a professional or private life without bad accidents. So what can you do?
Backtracking on diversifying the sources of income and doing the things you're not necessarily would love to do, and or maybe you do. Omnipresence on social media. Do you like it? Do you enjoy it? Because I remember you mentioned in one of your videos that ROI from doing this YouTube thing, not in financial terms, is not there yet for you. And do you still enjoy it, or is it still a necessity? Well, 21st century small business owner in audio, like I've got to do it.
I think it is a necessity. The problem with that, so like I have a extremely small YouTube channel. I have like a little over 2,000 subscribers. So I don't have like I don't put out content regularly in any way. I'm not a YouTuber. I am monetized, but I think I make something like $5 a month of it, something something ridiculous like that. So I'm definitely not doing it for the money. That said, I have gotten a surprising amount of work from people that saw me on YouTube or on Instagram doing some weird stuff with sound and hire me to do stuff. So that tells you that in some way is useful. The bit that I find hard is that like many things, when you don't see a direct reward, right? You don't get, like you don't. Making a video for YouTube takes a long time. Like I'm a person that, as you saw from that video, I track absolutely everything that I do work wise, and like the smallest video that I produce is still gonna take me 7 to 8 hours from shooting and thinking about it and editing it, up to 20 plus if I'm making a longer video, right? So that is a big investment in time, and you don't get like a paycheck at the end of the video. You don't get like you deliver it you deliver that video to a client and they pay you, right? You need to put it out there just for just hoping that it does something. I, that is hard, because you do have that frustration of not seeing a direct reward. However, I do it because, first of all, I really like it. I just find it very fun. I wish I had more time for it. In fact, I have a video right now that I've been working on for ages, just because it's been sitting there and been writing the script, and I've never managed to do it. So yeah, that is the frustration. Like this video is a good example. This is a video that I would really love to get out there. I've been working on it. It's basically a uh, sort of an exploration of classic synth strings sounds, right? So like the starting from the classic string sounds of the 80s in horror movies, and how you can modernize that sound. And I've done a lot of research for it. I think it's gonna be very good. But I've been working on it for months, because basically I work on it for a couple of days, and then I need to stop and go do something else. So I don't know if you'll ever see the light of day. And so yeah, like all things, it just takes a lot of time, and it kind of frustrating that you need to prioritize it, and prioritizing it means saying no to other jobs, which is financially a problem. So I do like, to answer your question, which is if I still enjoy it. I do enjoy it, definitely, but I also find very frustrating not having enough time for it. And the other thing that I would say is that I certainly like more creating that type of content, like a YouTube video, rather than creating the average Instagram post or LinkedIn post. Like I do like these sort of like longer form 10 to 15 minutes videos, but unfortunately that also means that they take a long time to produce.
That's what's interesting. The difference between, say, the same Krotos material or Sonora Cinematic versus your personal YouTube channel. Uh, your personal one looks like it's something you get a kick out of anyway. This is something I love to talk about. This is for me. If nobody likes it, it's okay.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. And Krotos looks like no matter how good your instrument is, if you do not promote it, it doesn't exist.
Well, Krotos is a very different thing, because Krotos is not my company. Krotos is like a much larger company that is based here in Edinburgh, and like they specifically hired me to make those videos. So obviously that is me doing a job for a client, right? So that is completely different. Which doesn't mean that I don't make it passionately. Like I had lots of fun with the Krotos team, and I think we made some pretty fun videos. But that is. There is more like a team behind them, right? It's not just me deciding to make a random video. It's more like we go there with the team, and then I am in those cases. I haven't done a video for them in a long time, actually, but the idea there is that I am the face that gets in front of the camera and you know showcases these products, which I haven't designed. I haven't had any saying in. Whereas Sonora Cinematic, obviously, I have way more control, because that's my company and I do whatever I like. And yes, and as you say, my personal YouTube channel is just a dump, where I literally put everything that I want. If I feel like doing something, I just do it. So that is also obviously the reason why it's not a big channel. It's very against the algorithm, right?
We touched on starting with guitar and later diversifying it. Um, there was book happening, talks happening with publisher,
Yeah.
um, music for films, sound design for video games.
Hmm.
Are there personally any boxes left to tick? DJ, maybe? I don't know.
I love to be a DJ. I think that would be a very fun job. I think I don't know, like I don't know if you have any children, but I have two very young children, and and I'm not getting enough sleep at night at all. So I think I would be a very shit DJ, because I fall asleep at 9:30 p.m. probably. So I don't think that would be for me at the moment. But no, I mean, I love electronic music, so yeah. No, I think I don't want to get into more things. It's funny that you say DJ, because quite a few years ago now, I was teaching sound design in a school, in a DJ school, and I was listening to the DJing classes, and I was like, oh gosh, this is really cool. There is like really a skill set that I don't think too many people appreciate. I think that lots of musicians are quite snobbish when it comes to DJing, but there is like an enormous set of skills. I was like, oh, gosh, like if I had more time, I think I would really get into DJing. But yeah, no, like to answer your question with a bit more seriously, I do love experimental ambient music, and the one of the box that I would like to take is to do a bit more of music for the sake of music. I love to play a bit more of that live. I am actually playing next Sunday in a place here in Edinburgh. I'm playing a set, and I love to. I have lots of tracks that are written in the genre that it's sort of like revisiting. I would love um, to just publish an album of my music, of my non-media music, if you know what I mean. Like just for the pleasure of having it out there, because it's something that I really love. I really love ambient music, and and yeah, I just that would be one thing that I love to do.
Aria finally released.
Yeah.
You seem to be very happy about it. And
Yeah.
um, the story behind it is this. You said that it was essentially in the works before you decided to release it commercially. And I was talking to SwishSwoosh about their virtual instrument. It's the same story. They said that they created the instrument out of necessity, later decided to share it with the world.
Yeah.
How did you, uh, what's the story with Aria?
Yeah, so in general, this is not something that happens necessarily. That happened necessarily just with Aria. I have been making sounds for myself forever. I started with Contact, and then I pretty much used all the other platforms, but Contact is still the main one. I think that there is something very very interesting in making your own instruments, right? So like I have a folder with probably around 200 single little instruments that I made for myself to use in a project or the other. And yeah, like Aria Vocalscape specifically came from two things. The first thing is that we wanted, so every instrument that we made so far has been its own Contact engine. So we started it completely from scratch, and the only exception probably being Mezzacoda and Verticale, that they are our two pianos, and they kind of use the same engine. But other than that, like we always made like a brand new engine from scratch, and this is obviously annoying for both a workflow financial reason. So like you need to redevelop everything from scratch, which also means that for the final user, the cost of the library is going to be much higher, and also that it sort of puts us a limit on how fast we can release things, and we have a lot of things that we want to release. So the idea was to make an engine that would work as a base for a few of our instruments, and we have 4 plans so far that are going to use the Aria engine, but hopefully more in the future if they're successful. And so Aria Vocalscapes is simply the first instrument that was using this engine. And the Vocalscapes thing specifically comes from the fact that my wife is a singer, and I've used a lot on a lot of projects, even in places where you wouldn't be able to say that there are vocals. So sort of like creating these textural sort of voices that are very in the background but work very well to fill up spaces. And it's cool that they are organic material that you can sort of manipulate into pads and things like that. And I had a lot of those patches that ended up being there already recorded somewhere, but we re-record them all to match the sort of the signal chain and the overall sound of Aria Vocalscapes. And so yeah, that was born out of necessity in the sense that it's something that I did on a lot of projects, and they finally put a library of this stuff together. And I was saying in the live stream, for example, there is a song that I wrote called Vulpecilla, which is a song that is included in Stars #2, I think. No, in Stars, which is an album by Bleeding Fingers, which is published by Extreme Music. That the first part, no one would be able to say, but it's pretty much all guitar and vocals. There are like a couple of guitars, and all the soundscapes are all vocals. And I recently opened the session out of curiosity, and there were like 65 vocal tracks in the first part. It's just like a layering of vocals, and we had a lot of fun doing that with Emma, which is my wife. And so essentially we just recorded a library, and yeah, it's done very, very well. So in terms of number of copies sold, is the third best-selling library, but has been out only for 3 weeks. So it sold more than instrument in the first 3 weeks than instruments that have been out for 2 years, which is incredible. So it did very well, and I'm very happy about it. And I think one of the reasons they did well is also that because the idea was to create this engine that would be used for multiple things, we were also able to offer it at a lower price. Hopefully, is a bit more affordable than our other instruments, and I am very proud of it. I think it sounds really, 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 really good, and I use it myself a lot. So yeah, I'm very happy about that one.
It shows, by the way, how satisfying
Yeah, I
master
am.
is.
Like I'm satisfied because it took a lot of work. Like the engine, I coded the concept of it, and then I have a very good programmer that I work with, and I'm pretty sure SwishSwoosh also works with. Is it Theodore, that program number? I think is the same person. So we both yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. And Theo is a very good programmer that sort of finished my work. I was getting stuck with a couple of things. I can code, but I'm not an amazing programmer, and Theo was like very good in finishing it, and took a long time, and the recordings took a long time. So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied that he did well, essentially.
That's one of the questions I wanted to touch on. The boys from Swish Bush pushed me to ask you. Uh, Creating virtual instrument, it doesn't seem to me like it's something you can just easily jump in and
Yeah.
whoop, and I made an instrument. So do you have any background? Clearly you're committed to it, so you probably learned some coding there. And
Yeah, so like I got into making virtual instruments in in a very funny way. So I've, as I said, I've been doing little instruments for a very long time, but those had like no interface, nothing. It's just like a bunch of stuff that I sampled that thrown into Contact. That was as far as I went. The way I got into making instruments with an interface, with a custom script, and that eventually got into Sonora Cinematic stuff, started because I a while ago I want to say this is 2017. I might be wrong. I think it's 2017. I got a full phone call from a very good friend of mine that works at Spitfire Audio, and he was called by a company called Massive Music, and they do a lot of music for advertisement about essentially creating a custom instrument for their team. They had a very big client that I probably shouldn't name that they were working with, and they basically asked me to make a custom instrument that their team of composers could use. And he told me, there's nothing too complicated, and you don't really need to code anything. They just want to essentially design these instruments in contact. I know that you do that. Would you like me to give them your contact, because I'm too busy with Spitfire Audio? I said yes, absolutely fine, happy to do it. And then I spoke with these guys, and actually they did want a custom code and a lot a lot of stuff. So I said yes anyway, but could I bring a friend on board that knows what he's doing? And essentially I called Yap, which is a very good friend of mine, the owner of Triple Spiral Audio, who's another very good developer. And we did this job together, and it went pretty well. And they called me for 3 more instruments, and by that time I for 3 other clients. And so this is not stuff released commercially. There was like stuff that was done for their internal team to use, right? And basically working with Yape essentially picked up a lot of coding skills, and then I studied a bit myself. And then I in 2020, I think it was, yes, because it was a COVID project essentially. I was like, I have a bit of free time. I had a couple of projects that got cancelled because of COVID. So that it would be fun to start my own company doing this. And so at the very end of 2020, December 2020, we started sonoracinematic.com, and that's how it came about. So I have a very weird entry into doing this kind of stuff. I was asked to do it for a specific for a company, essentially, that not even to release it commercially. And then I eventually started to do it commercially. But I've been also hired quite a lot, and am actually. I still get a lot of people that want me to make custom instruments for them, not with the purpose of releasing it, but with the idea of having their own sounds that they can use on their own project. I've done this on actually 2 pretty big video games, which are also unreleased, so I can also not mention. But where I did like custom instruments for the composing team. And another one is Atlas Flutes, which is now a Sonora Cinematic release. But Atlas Flutes was born as an instrument that they did for a German composer, Christoph Zerngiebel, who was scoring a pretty big animation film in Germany called Mia and Me, the Hero of Santopia. And he needed some word flutes, and we recorded it together, and I basically coded this instrument, and he used it on the film. And then 1 year after the film was out, we thought that would be fun to create like a commercial version of it, and then we tweaked it a little bit, and we turned it into what ended up being Atlas Flutes. But yeah, this was my entry to making virtual instruments, essentially.
So it boils down to this: Berkeley alum, not an engineer, just sprinkle some boredom on top and pandemic and a
Yeah,
little bit of free time,
yeah,
and you
exactly.
can make an instrument.
That was pretty much it. So as I said, like I learned the coding part from my friend Yap, but I wouldn't say that I would have been able to make an instrument on my own without some studying. And yeah, basically, I was starting a project in March 2020, which here in the UK, mid March was when the lockdown started, and they canceled a lot of projects, including the project that I was working on. And so I basically had a couple of months on my hands, with nothing else to do, and I just started studying coding essentially, and yeah, that's how I picked it up.
Speaking of which, back again to the common trope among many audio people just saying yes to random stuff. Like
Absolutely, yes.
people coming to you, can you possibly do that? Yeah, why not? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. I think I would have been. I was very grateful to be able to bring another person on board for the project, because yeah, I really wasn't up for the task. But then, as I said, I did that 4 times, and Yap only helped me. He helped me on the first one, and he started helping me on the second one, but then he had like an overlap with another project, so I essentially then completed the 3 other on my own, and it was fine. So yeah.
You've been a consumer of instruments for a long time,
Yeah.
consumable, and now you decided to create an instrument. So you've been on both ends. Are you looking into anything specific in your instrument, ease of use, or just make it sound good?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is like a very simple answer, which is this: that the market of virtual instruments is extremely saturated. There is absolutely everything on the market. You can find absolutely everything. And so the ethos behind my instruments, the instruments that I make, is always to make something that has a weird twist to an instrument that is out there. So I very much put the emphasis on doing something that sounds very unique, yet usable. I find that there is a very fine line, and there is if you get like a Venn diagram, right? There is the area where there are like unique instruments, potentially unique instruments, and usable instruments, right? And then there is an area that overlap, and I think that you need to find that area that overlap, because it's obviously very easy to make stuff that is like so out there that you don't not only you don't have a market for it, but it's just really hard to use. And that's what I try to find. I try to find things that where I know I can put my unique spin on it. So like an example is when we did Verticale, which is a felt piano. Like the thing that I was getting a lot of is like, do we really need another felt piano on the market? Because there are hundreds of them, literally hundreds. And Verticale is one of our best-selling instruments, because of the twist that we put on it. So Verticale is a felt piano, but it's sampled with 4 layers of felt, so it sounds extremely muffled in a lovely way, I think. And also there is a layer to Verticale where I put where I grabbed a selection of the samples, and I passed it to cassette and slowed it down, and you can blend in the cassette sound with the 4 layers of felt, and so you get this sort of like very crunchy mellow sound that I really love, and I think is very unique. So that's what I try to do. Or like another example is harmonic bloom, which is this instrument where uses the harmonic series to it's basically in the backgrounds there are a series of bandpass filters and the code works out the frequency of the notes that you're playing, and it places cutoff frequencies of all these filters on the harmonics of each note that you're playing. And so in this way you get essentially these pitches out of noisy material, so you can drag and drop a field recording of a crowd in a cafe or something, and it turns that into like a musical soundscape. So like I'm trying to find things that are experimental, interesting, fresh, new, but at the same time are also usable for musicians that create scores for media. That is the target that I have in mind. Essentially, if when people ask me who is your target market, I basically say that I look at myself in the mirror and essentially I make instruments that I would like to buy. So things that are experimental, yet very cinematic and very inspiring when it comes to music for media, essentially.
While we are on virtual instruments,
Yeah.
Amber, I mean, it's still in the realm of what you described, kind of wacky enough, but also usable. How did that come about? Is it like I need a horror tool? SwishSwoosh shared this story with me. They needed a horror tool, and then they later decided, okay, since we made it, we might as well just release it. How did this collaboration came about?
Yeah, so I had no creative input when it comes to Amber. Amber is an entirely Swish Bush creation. What I did is that Swish Bush was their first contact instruments. Aria Vocalscapes is our 11th, so like we have a bit more experience when it comes to that. They have a lot of experience. They release a lot of very very good sample packs, and they did a lot of collection of wave files both for audio professionals and for game developers, but this was their first virtual instruments. And so what I offered is the possibility of also releasing it on sonoracinematic.com, and I essentially helped them with the promotion. So I did the trailer for it, and I did the walkthrough. I got more involved into the marketing of it, essentially. And the reason why I did it is because I think it's an amazing instrument. I think that they really put a lot of really cool sounds in it, and so I was very happy to do it. That said, Swish Swoosh, let's do another one together. I think it would be, if you're looking at doing Amber 2, I'd love to collaborate more on the content as well, because that is my cup of tea. I like doing that stuff.
I love horror. I quite liked using Amber and having in the mix your sound design would be quite incredible, to be honest with
I
you.
think it would be a lot of fun. Yes, I need to get in touch. I mean, we are in touch with Emre and Edgman, but it would be fun to talk about doing a number two. And yes, if they have me on the content as in sound design uh, side of things, yeah, I'd love to get involved in that. Absolutely.
Because everyone loves to talk about toys, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What are the latest tools you can't live without? Not the latest or any tools you can't, like, your process doesn't exist without these tools. And what are the tools that you find joy toying with recently?
I'm thinking of like things that I got more recently. I Again, this is a bit biased because I work quite a bit with Arturia, but I love Minifreak, which is both hardware and software, and that is a very very good synth, and I've been using it a lot. And same thing with Pigments 5. They added some really cool stuff. I did some factory presets for both these scenes, so I was also a bit involved in the sound design, and I really love using those things. I think anything by Arturia sounds really really cool. One company that I absolutely love is Baby Audio. I think that they are doing some absolutely fantastic things. Their latest synth, which now is escaping me, I can't remember the name. I've been using that a lot. It's very very interesting. It's sort of physical modeling based, and sounds really really cool, and I love all the plugins. I have them all. So yeah, I would say Baby Audio stuff, Mini Freak. Thinking of other cool software that I got recently. um yeah, and then I have, like all the others that I've been using forever. um like just today I was using FabFilter Saturn, which is a plugin that I've been using for years, and every time that I use it I find something new to do with it, like creatively in terms of sound design. So that's very good. But yeah, I think the latest thing that I bought when it came out, that I've been really impressed with, is this latest synth from Baby Audio, which now I want to Google, so I'll tell you what it is exactly. It's
Replica.
Atoms. That's it. Atoms by Baby
Right.
Audio. Really, really good synth. I absolutely love it. And yeah, as I said, anything by Baby Audio, I really enjoy using.
Say hypothetical question. There is an AI algorithm to which you can inquire to make any tool, like any tool. And what do you request?
Oh, I don't
It
know.
does anything you want.
Oh, I need to think about this. Uh I think that when there is when I think of AI and make me a tool, I always think more of practical solutions of things that I hate doing, rather than something that is very creative, right? So I think more. Yeah, always think of like things that I find very tedious. Like anything with the editing process. I've been making a sample library for a company. Just last week we recorded it 2 weeks ago, and I've been editing all last week, and just yesterday I delivered the first part of the delivery, and it's 5,000 files. It's like, imagine editing 5,000 files. Any help that comes with this tedious task, so that I can do more creative things rather than editing sample starts. I think that's what I would love. Same thing with, like, checking noise floors, and making sure the isotope RX denoising doesn't eat everything up when you batch process 5,000 files. I always think of, like, if you ask me, like, any tool that I can think of, I always think of like very practical solutions to things that I hate doing. That would be the first thing. If I had to think about something very creative, I've been really interested in delays recently. In fact, I've been working with a person to potentially make collaborating on a delay, but it's like very early talk. But yeah, I love delays, and I think I will make. I have in mind a very creative delay. That maybe I won't share, because maybe I'll release it as a product. But yeah, basically there is. I'm very interested in modular synthesizers, and uh, if anyone is familiar with modular synthesizer, there is a delay that quite old, actually, that came out a few years ago from IntelliGel, called it's escaping me, Rainmaker, which is a spectral delay that does a lot of very interesting things. And tools like that, I absolutely love. If someone makes me a software version of Rainmaker, which should, by the way, be entirely possible, because it's a digital module, so it should be fairly easy to pass the DSP into a plugin, I will buy it instantly, because I really love the stuff.
I agree with you on the asking AI essentially to do mundane stuff, something that's
Yeah.
incredibly tedious. But as you probably know, general audio population falls into like several camps, say three: optimist, pessimist, and pragmatic realists, if you will, who believe that AI scare is a fad that will fade away, and the only thing that's going to be left is AI doing stuff we don't want to do. Where do you fall there? Did you have that AI scare before?
I don't fall, meaning that I have no idea. In fact, I was at an event, a networking event, just last night here in Edinburgh, and I was talking. I had a very long chat with the guy who owns a company that is working with AI essentially, and they're like developing an AI that does a certain thing, not in audio, so in a completely different industry. Genuinely don't know how to answer that question. I pretty much change my mind every single day on whether it's going to be a threat or something that we should welcome. I think that the only thing that is certain is that it will absolutely change our lives dramatically. That is for sure. I think that the revolution is coming. I think it's going to be a fairly gradual thing, but I think it will happen faster than anyone can imagine. Whether it's going to be more of a threat or an opportunity, I really don't know. I think that there are jobs that will be deeply, deeply affected by it. But I don't know. I generally don't know. Is a topic that I've been following and that I'm keeping myself informed on. But I hate when people ask me this question because I'm frustrated. I just don't know. I can't even begin to formulate an idea on what I genuinely think about it, because I just think it's so complicated. It could go either way. I really don't know.
But why I'm asking you is because you mentioned in one of your video that you made a commission for a text to speech project in the past,
Yeah,
if
I
I,
I,
if I
work, I,
believe
work, I
correctly.
work with text to speech synthesis. Yes. Yeah, I did it. By the way, I stopped working for them in 20. So I was part time with them for a while, and I think I stopped working for them in 2020. And by the way, like I heard the word AI a lot there, but even 4 years ago, there was no negative or positive association with it in any way. So it really changed dramatically, even the perception that we have of the word AI in the last 3 years, essentially. I think so. Like, if you want to talk about there are some specific things that are problematic in our industry. For example, there is going to be, and there is already, a massive problem with copyright. So, like, how do you copyright an AI based generated song? There is a massive problem on the models that are on the data that models are trained on. That has been the case with all the artists that have been their work that have seen their work fed to machine learning algorithms. These are all problems that need to be regulated, and I think and hope that they will be regulated. So these will be like some more practical applications. But if you ask me to form an opinion on a more general macroscopic level, in terms of the negative or positive impact that they're going to have, not on just on society, but even merely on our profession of audio artists. I don't know. I can't answer that. I really don't know.
Fascinating. I'm terrified and looking forward.
Yeah, exactly.
As a scientific person, I'm really looking forward to that. And I agree with you about the regulations. Sooner or later, most of the times, legislation's lagging behind technology, as the last couple of decades showed. But we humans adaptive. We'll
Yeah.
see about that. Also, while we're here, did you get to toy with any AI toys related to audio recently?
Yeah, I've actually even done a video. I collaborated briefly with a company called TensorPunk, which I'm actually not sure is still active. I'm sure it is. There was an AI generated sampler, specifically with drums. They released a couple of years ago a version of this sampler that was basically making drum samples. It was interesting. It was very limited though, and I'm sure they're working on doing um, some other things. I've used that. There isn't like an AI component on a lot of tools that we use, like Waves Clarity, which is a tool that I use all the time as an AI component to it. As I said, I am more keen and welcoming of technologies that uh, get rid of boring tasks, right? Like I'm all for helping sound editors to get rid of noise in recordings in a selective way, and facilitating the editing process. All these things I very much welcome. um, Obviously, at what cost we're going to see these things being eliminated, that we'll have to see.